First of all, tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm Emily.
Okay.
Well, obviously, born and raised in Utah. As far as writing goes, I've always, I don't know, since junior high, I decided I liked to write, and I never really had a purpose or direction with it. It was, I had this teacher that she was like, write how you feel, and I was like, what do you mean how I feel? And she's like, just write whatever, like, she's basically had us write, how things would make us feel, and write about those experiences, and that's when I really decided, literature and, writing and, words are really powerful, basically. And so started writing, and it's just kind of developed, and here we are, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you have your poetry published, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you written other things besides poetry?
No, I'm a horrible storyteller.
So you basically stick to poetry.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I could probably do short stories. I've never really tried, though.
Okay.
I mean, I've had, college classes where we've had to, but nothing I've really been, put my heart into because I wanted to do it. Because I can't develop a story and, hold someone on.
No.
Yeah.
It's difficult. That's understandable.
Yeah.
So, why do you feel the need to write?
Because I think that writing gives us, I don't know about us, but it gives me a purpose. I know if I'm overwhelmed, I can sit down and I can write, and it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else, but I know that it's a release for me. And I think that, in the piece that I got published, I think it shows, how powerful it can be and how I'm one girl from Utah who doesn't really have a say, at least I thought, but people notice.
Mm-hmm.
And what you say really does have to matter, or really does matter. And I don't know, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was great.
Okay.
So, how many poems, how much of a portfolio do you have?
Well, for about 9 months, I'd write a haiku every day, if not more. And so as far as haikus go, I have hundreds. And then as far as I'll just show you. Everything in here is what I've done, and only one of them has ever been published. But there are scraps of things I've written and typed and things that I've edited and decided I want to keep this here and move it there, and I would say thousands, honestly.
Thousands of poems that
Mm-hmm.
you've done. Wow, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you have one that you'd be willing to share with us?
Oh gosh, I have to read it.
Yep.
Okay. Goodness. I do. This has no organization whatsoever, so I'm gonna get it off my phone. I'm kind of cheesy. I like to write a lot about love, but more for the fact that I think that we can accomplish a lot. I think that if we loved people deeper and more generally, I think we live in a, happier world. I have to think of one. Gosh.
Find your favorite one, right?
No, not a lot, because I have, some of it's just prose and others poetry and, with actual structure.
Right.
And so, okay, so this is a haiku I wrote. Do you want me to just read it or tell you, why?
First tell us why, how you came to it, and then read it.
Okay, so when I was 13, my sister died, and it was kind of, life-altering event, and it was really hard, and I mean, there's still days when I really miss her, and it's really hard. And this one morning, it was just, I don't remember what it was, just something reminded me of her, and it really made me miss her, and I just was thinking, how hard life can be and how many scars it leaves on us, whether it's what people say or these big events or, our own selves, whatever it may be. I think there are a lot of scars that are left inside of us. And so it was back when I was still writing a haiku every single morning. And so this one says, scars are reminders, not of what you suffered, but of your strength to heal. And that was just, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, well, I can either let this tear me down and look at all my scars and say, okay, I'm so ugly, look at all that's messed up with me, or I can say, look what all I've accomplished, and look at where I've come. And so for me, it's sometimes writing is a way to just see the more positive side of things as well.
No, that's excellent. So you feel like writing is a way for you to strengthen yourself?
Oh, for sure. And I think others as well. Like, I think we all want to know that someone else feels the same way we do so that we're not crazy, I guess. I don't know. I think that we all want to know, okay, am I the only one that feels this way? And if, someone else says it, you're like, I'm not the only one. Oh my gosh.
Right.
And I think it's for everyone. Like, everyone can benefit from it.
Excellent. I would agree with that. So I have a saying that I always have, that when you read something, you're looking into the mind of the author.
Mm-hmm.
So would you agree with that? Would you say that you're definitely looking into the heart and soul of someone when you're reading what they wrote?
Oh, completely.
Excellent.
Yeah. I think people are more honest in their writing than they are in anything else. Because I don't know, I feel like it tells a lot if you really study what someone has written.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Awesome. So tell us about how you got your poem published. I don't want you to read it to us right now, but what happened? How did you get your poem published?
So I post all my stuff on Instagram, and it wasn't really for anyone. I just thought, hey, this is what I do, just so people know.
Mm-hmm.
And I used a lot of hashtags, and that's how people started to find me, was if it was like haiku of the day or poem or writers of Instagram, whatever. And there was a guy who started following me one day, and it was a publisher, and I just thought, okay, that's cool. Didn't really think anything of it. And then a couple months later, I got like a message from him saying, hey, what's your email? So I gave him my email, and I got an email a couple days later, and it was this big, huge group email, and it was like, he just said, I'm a publisher in New Jersey, and I really think that there's an amazing group of writers out there who we need to come together. We need to write an anthology. And he told us, he said, I want this anthology to be about America. He's like, I don't care if you love it, you hate it, you've never been here, it's only your perceptions. He just said, I want you to write anything, whatever it is that you feel about America, your experience with America. And so I really thought about it, and he's like, okay, here's your due date. It was like 4 or 5 months from then. And so I thought about it, and I kind of went back and forth, and I was like, well, I don't have anything I've already written about America. Mm-hmm. And so I finally just decided, I'm like, this opportunity was just like set in my lap. I can't just give it up. And so I sent him off a draft, and he goes, I love it. It is going in. And I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of real now. And so then he's like, okay, on the due date, he said, we got everyone's entries. He said, this is when it goes out to the editors. He said, you have 2 weeks if you want to submit anything last minute. And life was kind of crazy. It was finals week, so I didn't submit anything else. But a couple weeks later, we got another email, and he just said, okay, it's off to the publishers, or to the editors. And he's like, I'll give you guys updates as they come. He's like, we have a lot of authors, so this is going to be a long process. And so I didn't hear anything for months. I almost kind of forgot about it. And then we get an email from him, and he just says, I'm so sorry. I don't think I've forgotten about you. Like, he was moving and family deaths and everything. So that delayed the process a little bit. And then one day he said, okay, give me your bio and how you want everything to appear, your name on Instagram or whatever social media you use. He said, give us that so we can, help spread the word. And so we sent in our bios, and a couple of weeks later, a month later, we were sent the first draft of it, and it has like the cover image and how it was all aligned or arranged, and it was so cool. Like, I scrolled through them, and I was like, I can't read them all till I get the book, and so I just looked at mine and thought, okay, this is what it's going to be, and by this point I had been married, so I had to, like, last minute be like, no, change my name, and
right.
So that was kind of it, and then he just said, okay, like, it's to printing, and then we got an email a couple days later that said, books will be on your door on July 16th. Which was my birthday, so I was like, happy birthday, me. But sure enough, they came, and it was just amazing, because there's so much in it. There's such diversity of people. There's a lot of people who are on the East Coast, and there's a lot about their struggles living in like poor neighborhoods or things like that. And there's one of the authors is from China, and I don't think he's ever been to America, and his is just about what it's like to want to come to America, and it's just this amazing process. And it was so cool. It was just this process to see, okay, well, someone's interested. Now it's my part. I need to create and be up to this standard. And then it was process of, okay, it has to go to the editors, and then it has to go to the designers to fit together, and then the publishing, and then the printing, and it was kind of a crazy process because it took like a year and I want to say like 4 months. Wow. So it wasn't short by any means. But
it was a long time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like a really fun process and a great experience for you. So you said something that really interested me. You said you just sent in a draft and you were like, yeah, whatever. You weren't really that into it when you first sent in that draft. Did you think that draft was going to get accepted, or were you like, no, it's not good enough? Or what was your thought process there?
I kind of was just like, I don't know. I wasn't in like the highest point of my life, so I kept on going back and forth, like, should I even do this? And then, like, 2 days before the due date, I was just like, I'll come up with something, because when am I going to get this opportunity again? And I thought long and hard about it and just thought, this is the best I've got right now. And I submitted it. And I was just like, well, I hope he likes it. But it's like, this is all I can do right now. And I didn't really think, like, he's gonna be like, oh, I love it. But that's exactly what he said. He's like, this is going in the book. And I thought it was interesting. And looking back now, I think it was really telling, because this was right after, like, there were a lot of scandals going on within like, with politicians and stuff. And my poem's about just how America's not always what we thought it would be. It's kind of, I don't know. People kind of hide, and it's kind of deceitful or deceiving. And so I think, like I mentioned before, how it's really telling. I think this is a piece that I didn't really think too much now, but looking back, I think it really shows, like, that raw emotion almost.
That's excellent. Yeah, I've read it. I went through it, and I would completely agree with you. It does show a lot of emotion that we have in, the United States politics, and how a lot of people feel. And I think you did a great job as well. So good work. So the name of the book is a literary assault on the American mind, right? So is it just full of poems, or is it short stories, or what's all included in?
It's a lot of free verse, and there are couplets, there's some of it's prose. It's really diverse. Like, the title fits it perfectly. It is a literary assault. You are getting opinions that are here and there and left and right and everything, and it's just, I feel like whenever you read this book, there's not something, will always find something that you agree with in it. Because it's just, there's so many people. I think there are 39 authors. And so it's amazing to really see how, for me, when I read it, I'm like, okay, little me growing up in, red Utah, there are people across the state, or across the country, who have completely different lives. I grew up with this nice little, perfect little house, nice green grass, sidewalk, and there are people who, they lived in apartment buildings that had, like, just this horrible situation, fell asleep to gunshots, and it's like, this is all the same country, but our experiences are entirely different.
Right. So you said that you had, more than 1,000 poems that you have done yourself. Haikus, prose, all kinds. Are you planning on getting anything else published? Are you thinking about trying to do that?
I've thought about it, but at this point, it's not quite there. Because I feel like what I have, a lot of it was just for me. Like, it's not things that, I've really shared with anyone else. Like, sure, my husband can go read it, that's fine, but I feel like most of it's not something I want out for public consumption.
Right.
Because it was in those, like, really raw, emotional moments where I was like, this is all I've got.
Right.
There are some that I haven't technically published, but I like have bound in books of my own and sold to people.
Mm-hmm.
So a few of those are out there, and it's 20, 30 poems in it. But as far as like formally getting a publisher and everything, it's in the back of my mind, but it's not quite a priority yet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But that's completely understandable, because the one that you just shared with me, I mean, that was very personal.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you for that.
Yeah.
But, well, I would suggest that you go for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, would you think about going through the Silent Noise Publishing Company again, or would you think about going through somewhere else?
I think I probably would go with Silent Noise, because they this is the cheesiest analogy ever. You know how in Cars, Lightning McQueen is like, no, I've got to stick with Rusty's. They're the one that gave me my big start.
Uh-huh.
That's exactly how I feel about Silent Noise. Like, I know them personally. They're the one that just gave me what I have.
Right.
And so I would stick with them for sure.
Okay.
And it gives them some more publicity, and then me some more publicity with each of our different followers and groups and things like that. So,
Oh. So, if a young writer wanted to publish through Silent Noise, how would they do it? Do you know?
Contact Bruce Jennings.
Bruce Jennings.
Yes, he's the best. He's one of those people that totally cares about who you are as a person, not just, okay, hope your life's doing good, meet up with you next week, call you, whenever. Like, he really is like, how are things going in your life, and how is this? And they have a website, which I believe is just silentnoisepublishing.com. I can double check on that, and just shoot him an email and just say, hey, what are my options? How would I go about this process? And yes, it is silentnoisepublishing.com. And just say, what are my options? Because with them, it's obviously they have to cover their fees and stuff, but they want to help you. They want to help you, make profit off of your book and really get your name out there. They use social media a lot, like Facebook pages, Instagram, and as well as personal accounts, to really say, everyone, look, here's this awesome author, poet, whatever. They can do amazing things. You need to see this, read this, whatever. So their website or social media is a good way to go. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's great. Do you feel like there's anything else we need to know about your poetry or getting published?
Oh, I don't know. Take every opportunity you can get. Even when life is like at the worst and the hardest, you'll regret it if you don't do it. Like, I think seeing my name in print was the most amazing feeling. And knowing, yeah, well, my life was hard and I was going through whatever personal things at the time, and even though I pushed through it and it was hard, it was more than worth it, because now I have this reward that I can just share with people, and people can get to know me through this. And so if ever an opportunity arises, take it. And even if that's, building up the courage to put a poem or a short story on Facebook or Instagram or Tumblr, like, it's worth it, because you don't know who's going to approach you. Like, with me, I didn't think, oh yeah, me putting a poem on here is going to get me published. I thought, oh, maybe it'll get me, a few more followers on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of spiraled into what it is now, and just because I took the risk of letting people see the different side of me, which was terrifying at first.
Right.
I was like, everyone thinks it's cheesy writing poetry. My family's going to be like, oh, she's so weird. But it's not. It's been extremely rewarding. I just had to get out of that comfort zone.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So that brings me to another question.
Okay.
There's a ton of people out there, young amateur authors, old amateur authors,
Mm-hmm.
tons of people that always have had that desire to, publish something, or they write and they do it just for fun, but then they always have that little hope in their heart to get published.
Mm-hmm.
Would you encourage them, and how would you encourage them to continue and actually follow through with that?
I think just trying even when... Sorry, I'm going to stop so that it's still here. I think trying even when life seems hard and it seems scary and you're afraid that people are going to just look at you differently. I think, like, I know for men, sometimes it's like, you write poetry, that's like a girly thing to do. I dare say some of the best poets in this world were men, so that hurdle shouldn't even be there. But there are a lot of different resources. Like, I know there's some, I think Barnes and Noble might do a competition, and they have, like, NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month, which is in November. Like, you have November 1st to November 31st to write a short story or a book or whatever, and if you win, you get published. And there are a lot of these little, like, opportunities that not a lot of people know about. And I think it's just a matter of getting on Google and saying, how do I do this? Competitions, local things, like your name in a newspaper, that's something. People are going to notice, and I think look for every single little opportunity you can find, because it always has the potential to become more than just your name in a newspaper article with one haiku, or, because then you can also have that, like, I submitted work to National Novel Writing Month, and it's like, wow, you can write a novel in a month. Yeah, I can. It just gives you that rapport as well of saying, I'm willing to put myself out there, even when there's a risk of rejection or whatever else.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I think we're good.
Okay.
Thanks,
Sounds
Sam.
good.